You see, my dear friends, the world of manifestation, that is the world of physical activity, is not the primary reality. It is, in fact, secondary to the world of imagination. Your imagination is the very workshop of creation, the place where all things begin. It is the source from which all that is made flows forth into being. And it is through the power of your imagination, harnessed and directed through visualization, that you can shape your reality to match your deepest desires. Now, I know that for many of you, this may seem like a radical concept. You have been taught from childhood that the world is a fixed, unyielding place, and that your role in it is largely that of a passive observer, subject to forces beyond your control. But I am here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. You are not a mere spectator in the grand theater of life, but its author, director, and star performer all rolled into one. The technique I am about to share with you is not new. It is old as consciousness itself. It has been used by the great mystics, sages, and creators throughout history. It is the very method by which the universe itself came into being. And yet, for all its power and antiquity, it remains largely unknown or misunderstood by the vast majority of people. This technique is based on a simple yet profound principle. That which you hold in your imagination with feeling and conviction must, by the very laws of creation, manifest in your physical experience. It is not a matter of if, but when. The only variable is the intensity of your belief and the clarity of your vision. Let us begin by understanding the nature of imagination itself. Your imagination is not, as many believe, a frivolous faculty useful only for daydreaming or entertaining idleness. It is, in fact, the very essence of your being. It is the God power within you, the creative force that shapes worlds. When you imagine, you are literally tapping into the same power that brings galaxies into being and sustains the big fabric of existence. But here's the crucial point. Your imagination operates unceasingly, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. Every moment of every day, you are using this God power to create your reality. The question is not whether you are using your imagination, but how you are using it. Are you using it consciously with purpose and direction, or are you allowing it to run wild, reflecting and magnifying your fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs? The technique I am about to share with you will enable you to harness this power consciously and deliberately. It will allow you to direct the full force of your creative imagination towards the realization of your desires. And make no mistake, my friends, when applied correctly and consistently, this technique never fails. It cannot fail, for it is based on the fundamental laws of creation itself. Now let us delve into the heart of this technique. The first step is to clearly what it is you wish to experience. This may seem obvious, but it is a step that many overlook or rush through. You must be absolutely clear about what you want. Vague wishes or general hopes will not suffice. You must be specific and detailed in your desire. Once you have clearly defined your desire, the next step is to create a scene in your imagination that implies the fulfillment of this desire. This is where many people falter, for they focus on the process of achieving their desire rather than the end result. But I tell you this, the how is not your concern. Your task is to focus solely on the end, on the feeling of your desire fulfilled. For example, let's say your desire is for a new home. Don't visualize the process of house hunting, securing a mortgage, or moving. Instead, create a scene that implies you are already living in your new home. Perhaps you are entertaining friends in your living room or waking up in your bedroom. The specific scene doesn't matter as long as it implies the fulfillment of your desire. Now here's where the real power of this technique comes into play. Once you have created your scene, you must enter into it fully. You must make it so real in your imagination that it takes on the tones of reality. You must see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, hear it. Use all your senses to make this imaginal scene as vivid and real as possible. But mere visualization is not enough. The key to this technique, the element that makes it unfailingly effective, is feeling. You must feel the reality of your imagined scene. You must generate within yourself the emotions you will experience if your desire were already fulfilled. This feeling is the secret and the power of the entire operation. You see, my dear friends, in the realm of imagination, there is no distinction between what is real and what is imagined. Your subconscious mind, which is directly connected to the creative power of the universe, cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical. When you combine clear visualization with genuine, you are literally experiencing your desire in a realm that is more real, more fundamental than the physical world. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, I've tried visualization before, and it didn't work. To this I say, you have not truly visualized until you have felt the reality of your agency. Mere mental pictures are not enough. You must feel it to be real. You must generate within yourself the conviction that what you are imagining is not a future possibility, but a present fact. This is where most people falter in their attempts at manifestation. They treat their imaginal scenes as pleasant fantasy or hopeful daydreams. But I tell you this, your imaginal acts must be as real to you as any physical experience. In fact, they must be more real, for they are the cause and physical reality is merely the effect. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you desire financial abundance. Many people, when they visualize wealth, see themselves counting money or looking at a bank statement with a large balance. But these are external symbols of wealth. They do not capture the feeling of being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine a scene that implies the feeling of financial abundance. Perhaps you're sitting in a beautiful restaurant ordering whatever you desire without a second thought about the cost. Or maybe you're calmly writing a large check for a charitable cause dear to your heart, knowing that you had more than enough. Feel the peace, the security, the joy that comes with true financial abundance. Let these feelings permeate your entire being. When you can do this, when you can make your imaginal scene so real that it elicits genuine emotion, you are set in motion forces that must, by the very nature of creation, bring your desire to physical manifestation. For you see, my friends, the outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world. What you hold to be true in your imagination with feeling must externalize itself in your experience. Now I can sense that some of you are struggling with this concept. You're thinking, but Neville, how can my imagination change external circumstances? How can it affect other people or events beyond my control? And to this I say there are no external circumstances. There are no other people in the sense that you think of them. There is only consciousness, only imagination. This may seem like a radical statement, but I assure you it is the absolute truth. The entire universe, with all its seeming solidity and complexity, is nothing more than consciousness made visible. And your individual consciousness is not separate from the universal consciousness. It is one with it, a focal point of the infinite creative power that underlies all of existence. When you truly grasp this truth, when you internalize it and make it the foundation of your understanding, you will see that there are no limits to what you can achieve through the power of your imagination. For in reality, you are not changing external circumstances at all. You are simply shifting your consciousness. And in doing so, you shift the entire universe. Let's delve deeper into this concept, for it is crucial to understanding the full power of the technique I am sharing with you. Most people believe that their thoughts and feelings are a reaction to external circumstances. They believe that they feel happy because something good happened, or sad because something bad occurred. But I tell you this, your thoughts and feelings are not the effect of circumstances, they are the cause of them. Your consciousness is the only reality. The world you experience is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. Every person, every object, every circumstance in your life is a reflection of your own mental states. This is why two people can experience the same external event in completely different ways. It's not the event itself that determines their experience, but their consciousness. Now, I know this may be difficult to accept at first. It flies in the face of everything you've been taught about the nature of reality. But I urge you to test this principle for yourself. For when you begin to live from this understanding, you will experience a freedom and a power beyond anything you've ever known. Let's return to our technique of visualization. When you create a scene implying the fulfillment of your desire, And when you enter into that scene with full sensory vividness and genuine feeling, you are literally rearranging the entire universe. You are shifting your consciousness, and in doing so, you are shifting the reflection that is your physical reality. This is why it's so crucial to persist in your imaginal act until it takes on the tones of reality. You must continue to return to your scene, to live in it and from it, until it feels more real to you than your current physical circumstances. This is not always easy. It requires discipline and persistence. But I assure you the results are well worth the effort. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of action in this process. You may be thinking, surely, Neville, we must do something in the physical world to bring about our desires. And to this I say, inspired action will naturally flow from your shift in consciousness. When you have truly impressed your subconscious mind with the reality of desire fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally taking the right actions at the right time. But, and this is crucial, you must not force action from a place of lack or need. Any action taken from the belief that you need to make your desire happen is counterproductive. It stems from a lack of faith in the creative power of your imagination. Instead, allow action to arise naturally as a result of your new state of consciousness. Remember, the world is a shadow, a reflection of your inner world. When you change the inner, the outer must change to match you. This is not wishful thinking or magical thinking. It is the fundamental law of creation. It is how the universe itself operates. Now let me address another question that often arises when I speak of this technique. Many people ask, how long will it take for my desire to manifest? And to this I say, time is an illusion of the physical world. In the realm of imagination, where all creation takes place, there is no time. Your desire is fulfilled the moment you feel the reality of its fulfillment in your imagination. The time it takes for your desire to appear in your physical appearance depends on many factors, including the naturalness of the desire, the intensity of your feeling, and your ability to persist in the assumption of its fulfillment. But know this, the moment you have succeeded in feeling the reality of desire fulfilled, its manifestation in the physical world is assured. This brings us to another crucial aspect of this technique, detachment. Once you have impressed your subconscious mind with the reality of your desire fulfilled, you must release it. You must let go of anxiety or urgency about its manifestation. For anxiety and urgency stem from a lack of faith, from the belief that your desire is not yet yours. Instead, lie from the calm assurance that what you have experienced in imagination is now a fact. Go about your daily life from this new state of consciousness. This doesn't mean you forget about your desire. Rather, you live from the state of its fulfillment, regardless of what your physical senses are telling you. This detachment is not indifference. It is supreme confidence. It is the knowing that what you have claimed in imagination is now yours in reality, and that its physical manifestation is merely a matter of time. This attitude of calm assurance is incredibly powerful. It aligns you with the creative forces of the universe and allows your desire to manifest with ease and grace. Now I want to address a common pitfall that many fall into when practicing this technique. They visualize their desire, they feel its reality, and then they look to the physical world for signs of its manifestation. When they don't see immediate results, they become discouraged and doubt the process. But I tell you this, do not judge by appearances. The physical world, being the shadow of consciousness, often takes time to reflect the changes in your imagination. Your task is to persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled, regardless of what your physical senses are telling you. Remember, your senses show you the world as it was, not as it is becoming. This persistence in the face of contrary evidence is what separates those who succeed with this technique from those who fail. It requires faith, not blind faith, but faith born of understanding. Faith in the creative power of your own imagination. Faith that what you have experienced as real in your imagination must, by the very laws of creation, manifest in your physical reality. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you are using this technique to manifest a promotion at work. You create a scene implying you have already received the promotion. Perhaps you imagine yourself sitting in your new office or receiving congratulations from your colleagues. You enter fully into this scene, making it vivid and real in your imagination. You feel the joy, the pride, the sense of accomplishment that comes with this promotion. Now, having done this, you go to work the next day. Nothing seems to have changed. Your boss doesn't mention anything about a promotion. Your colleagues treat you the same as always. This is where many people falter. They allow the evidence of their physical senses to negate their imaginal experience. But the person who understands the true power of this technique does not waver. They continue to live from the assumption that the promotion is theirs. They interact with their boss and colleagues from this new state of consciousness. They perform their work with the confidence and authority of someone in their new position. They persist in this assumption, regardless of appearances, until the physical world reshapes itself to match their inner conviction. This, my dear friends, is the true test of your faith in this technique. Can you persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled and all physical evidence that seems to contradict it? Can you remain loyal to your experience in the face of apparent failure or delay? If you can, then I assure you your success is guaranteed. For you see, this technique is not about forcing the world to bend to your will. It is about aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. It is about realizing that you are one with this power. It flows that is through you and as you. When you visualize this feeling, you are not sending out a request to some external force. You are awakening to the truth of who you really are, a creative force capable of shaping reality itself. Now let's delve even deeper into the mechanics of this technique. When you create your scene and enter into its full sensory vividness, you are doing something truly remarkable. You are literally creating a new memory. Your subconscious mind, which cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one, accepts this new memory as fact. This is crucial because your subconscious mind is the part of you that is directly connected to the creative power of the universe. It is the part of you that shapes your reality according to your beliefs and assumptions. By impressing a new memory upon your subconscious, you are literally reprogramming the metrics of your reality. Think about this for a moment. Every experience you've ever had, every belief you hold, every assumption you make about the nature of reality, all of these are based on memories. They are based on past experiences that have shaped your understanding of what is possible and what is not. But what if you could create new memories? Memories of experiences you desire, but have not yet had it in the physical world. This is exactly what you're doing when you use this visualization technique correctly. You are creating a new memory of your desire fulfilled, and your subconscious mind, accepting this new memory as fact, begins to reshape your reality to match it. It influences your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and even the actions of others around you, all to bring about the manifestation of your imagined experience. This is why it's so important to make your imaginal scene as vivid and real as possible. The more real it feels, the more readily your subconscious mind will accept it as fact. And the more completely your subconscious accepts it, the more powerfully and rapidly it will work to bring it into physical manifestation. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, what if I can't make my imaginal scene feel real? What if I struggle to generate feeling of my desire fulfilled? To this I say, practice. Like any skill, the ability to make your imaginal scenes feel real improves with practice. Start with small things. Visualize yourself enjoying a favorite meal or receiving good news. Practice feeling the reality of these simple scenes until it becomes second nature. As you become more adept at this, you can move on to larger desires. But remember, the size of the desire is irrelevant to the creative power of your imagination. In the realm of imagination, there is no distinction between big and small desires. All are equally possible, equally real. Another powerful aspect of this technique is repetition. While a single intensely real imagination can be enough to set the fields of manifestation in motion, repeated imaginal acts can be incredibly powerful. They serve to deepen your conviction, to make your new assumption feel more and more natural. But and this is crucial, your repetitions must not stem from a sense of lack or need. You're not repeating your imaginal act, because you're trying to make it happen. You're repeating it because it's enjoyable, because living from the state of your desire fulfilled is pleasurable in itself. Each repetition should deepen your feeling of naturalness, your sense that this is simply who you are and how your world is. Now let's address another important point. Some of you may be wondering about the ethics of this technique. You may be thinking, if I can manifest anything I desire, what's to stop me from using this power selfishly or to harm others? This is a profound question, and it speaks to the very nature of consciousness and creation. First, let me say this: true harm to another is impossible in the highest sense because there is no other in reality. We are all one consciousness, individualized into seemingly separate beings. What you do to another, you do to yourself. This understanding naturally leads to an ethical use of this creative power. Moreover, as you begin to use this technique and experience its results, you will find your desires naturally becoming more aligned with the highest good of all. For you will realize that your joy or fulfillment is not separate from the joy and fulfillment of others. You will find yourself naturally desiring and creating experiences that uplift and benefit not just yourself, but all of consciousness. This brings us to another crucial point: the importance of your state of being. You see, my dear friends, what you get is not always what you think you want, but always a perfect reflection of your state of being. This is why it's so important to focus on the feeling of your desire fulfilled rather than on the external symbols of circumstances. For example, if you think you want wealth because you believe it will make you feel secure and free, focus on the feeling of security and freedom rather than on specific amounts of money. For it's entirely possible to have great wealth and still feel insecure and constrained. Conversely, it's possible to feel deeply secure and free with modest means. By focusing on the state of being you desire, you open yourself to countless ways in which the universe can deliver that state to you. This understanding also helps to dissolve any sense of conflict or competition in your manifestations. You're not trying to get something at the expense of someone else. You're simply aligning yourself with the state of being you desire and allowing the infinite creativity of the universe to bring it in a way that serves the highest good of all. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to touch on one final crucial point. This technique, powerful as it is not merely a tool for getting things or achieving specific goals. It is in its deepest sense a path to self-realization. For as you practice this technique, as you experience its results, you come to a profound realization: you are the creator of your reality. This realization is nothing less than an awakening to your true nature. You begin to understand that you are not a limited physical being subject to the whims of an external world. You are consciousness itself, the very substance and source of all that is. The world you experience is your consciousness made visible. As this understanding deepens, you may find your desires changing. The things you once thought would bring you fulfillment may lose their appeal. Instead, you may find yourself drawn to experiences that expand your consciousness, that allow you to express more and more of your true divine nature. This, my dear friends, is the ultimate purpose of this technique. Yes, it can bring you the things you desire in the physical world. But more importantly, it can lead you to the realization of who you truly are. It can awaken you to your own divine nature, to the limitless creative power that is your birthright. So as you go forth from here, as you begin to apply this technique in your own life, remember this: you are not merely seeking to change your circumstances. You are embarking on a journey of self-discovery. You are uncovering the truth of your own being. And in doing so, you are fulfilling the very purpose of creation itself. This is the entire universe, with all its infinite diversity and complexity, is consciousness exploring itself, experiencing itself in endless variety as a form and expression. And you in your individual life are the universe doing exactly that. Your desires, your imaginal acts, your experiences, all are the universe coming to know itself through you. As you use this technique, as you create and live from the state of your desires fulfilled, you are participating consciously in this grand adventure of creation. You are aligning yourself with the very purpose of existence. And in doing so, you open yourself to experiences of joy, fulfillment, and wonder beyond anything you may have previously imagined. So go forth, my beloved friends, and create. Use this technique with confidence and joy. Know that as you do so, you are not just changing your individual circumstances, but participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. You are fulfilling your divine purpose, expressing the infinite creative power that is your true nature. Remember always, your imagination is the God power within you. It is the creative force that shapes worlds. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, and use it often. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the transformation of all of creation. And know this, as you embark on this journey, as you begin to live from the power of your imagination, you are never alone. The entire universe supports you in your creative endeavors. For your success, your joy, your fulfillment is the success, joy, and fulfillment of life itself. So visualize boldly, feel deeply, and persist faithfully. For as you do, align yourself with the very power that creates worlds. And that alignment, all things become possible. You become the conscious author of your life, the deliberate creator of your reality. This, my dear friends, is your birthright. This is your true nature. Claim it, live from it. And watch in wonder as your world transforms to match the beauty and power of your own divine imagination. Thank you, and may your journey of conscious creation be filled with joy, wonder, and the deep satisfaction of expressing your true divine nature. Remember always, you are the operant power in your world. You are the God power made manifest. Live from this truth, and all that you desire must come to pass. For such is the law of creation, and such is the power of your own wonderful human imagination. My dear wonderful friends, tonight I shall share with you the most powerful secret in all of creation, how to speak to yourself in a way that will completely transform your world in just 3 days. Not in 3 months, not in 3 years, but in 3 days. For you see, the power of your inner conversation is absolute. And it is the only true creative power in the universe. Now, when I tell you to talk to yourself, I am not speaking of the idle chatter that most engage in throughout their day. I speak of that inner conversation that is deliberate, conscious, and aligned with your desired state. For your inner conversation is your consciousness externalized, and your consciousness is God. Consider the words of Scripture. In the beginning was the Word. These words are not speaking of some external deity's utterance. They speak of your inner word, your inner conversation. For you are the operant power, and your inner conversation is the word that creates all things. Many of you come to me asking, Neville, how long must I wait to see my desires manifest? And I tell you now, give yourself 3 days of proper inner conversation, and you will see your world begin to transform. For 3 is the number of completion in Scripture. And when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you set in motion forces beyond your current understanding. Let me share with you exactly how to conduct this inner conversation. First, you must understand that your inner conversation must be from the end. You do not speak of what you want to be true. You speak as though what you desire is already true. This is the great secret that most of the world has missed. When you wake in the morning of your first day, your inner conversation must be from the state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must be that of a wealthy person. If you desire health, your inner conversation must be that of a healthy person. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be that of someone who is deeply loved. But, and this is crucial, your inner conversation must feel natural. It must not be strained or forced. For feeling is the secret, and your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. Let me give you a perfect example from Scripture. When David spoke to Goliath, his inner conversation was not, I hope I can win, or I will try my best. His inner conversation was from the state of victory already achieved. This is why he could say with complete conviction, "This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand." Now, for these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation as though your life depends upon it, because it does. Every time you catch yourself engaging in inner conversation that contradicts your desired state, you must immediately revise it. This is not a suggestion. This is a command if you wish to see your world transform. Consider this: every outer conversation you have is first an inner conversation. Every relationship you have is first an inner conversation. Every circumstance in your life is first an inner conversation. Therefore, by changing your inner conversation for just 3 days, you literally change the entire substance from which your world is created. Let me tell you how to structure your inner conversation throughout these 3 days. In the morning, your first inner words must be from the state of your wish fulfilled. Before you open your eyes, before you move a muscle, engage in the inner conversation of the person you wish to be. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation might be, "I am so grateful for my abundant life. Money flows to me easily and continuously. I am surrounded by prosperity." But remember, these words must not be mere affirmations. They must be spoken with a feeling of knowing that they are already true. Throughout your day, your inner conversation must maintain the same level of conviction. When challenges arise, and they will arise, your inner conversation must remain steadfast. If someone speaks of lack, your inner conversation must be of abundance. If someone speaks of illness, your inner conversation must be of health. This is where most fail in their attempt to change their world. They allow their inner conversation to be pulled into the current circumstances rather than maintaining the conversation of their desired state. But I tell you now, circumstances have no power over your inner conversation unless you give them that power. For these 3 days, you must be relentless in maintaining your new inner conversation. When you walk down the street, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you eat your meals, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be from your desired state. Let me share with you a principle that I have tested and proven countless times. Your inner conversation is the only reality. Everything else, absolutely everything, is a shadow of your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, when you maintain the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you literally create a new world. Many of you may be thinking, "But Neville, 3 days seems too short a time to change my entire world." Let me remind you of the story of Jonah. How long was he in the belly of the whale? 3 days. And after 3 days, he was transformed, and his world was transformed. This is not coincidence, my dear friends. This is law. 3 days of proper inner conversation is all that is required to set in motion the forces that will transform your world. But these must be 3 complete days, not 3 days of wavering between states. During these 3 days, you must guard your inner conversation, not just in your waking hours, but as you fall asleep. For the last inner conversation you have before sleep is particularly powerful. It continues to echo through your subconscious mind throughout your sleep. Therefore, as you prepare for sleep during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be perfectly aligned with your desired state. If you desire a successful business, your inner conversation might be, "I am so grateful for my thriving business. My customers are delighted with our services. Profits increase continuously." But remember, and this is crucial, your inner conversation must be accompanied by the feeling of naturalness. It must feel as natural to have this conversation as it feels to speak of what you had for breakfast. This is where the power lies, not in the words themselves, but in the feeling of naturalness that accompanies them. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your outer conversations. Therefore, during these 3 days, you must be particularly vigilant about your outer conversations as well. They must align with your new inner conversation. If someone asks you how you are, your response must come from your desired state. If someone speaks to you about problems or difficulties, your response must come from your desired state. Your outer conversation must be a perfect reflection of your new inner conversation. Many of you may find this challenging at first. You may be tempted to engage in conversations about current circumstances rather than your desired state. But I tell you now, this is where your power lies in maintaining your new conversation regardless of appearances. Consider the story of Jesus walking on water. What was his inner conversation? Was it about the impossibility of walking on water? Was it about the danger of the storms? No, his inner conversation was from the state of mastery over all natural laws, and his outer world had to conform to this inner conversation. During these 3 days, you must maintain the same level of conviction in your inner conversation. You must speak to yourself as though your desired state is already your reality, not as though it will be, not as though it might be, but as though it is. Let me share with you how to handle doubts when they arise during these 3 days, and they will arise. When a doubt appears in your mind, do not fight it. Instead, immediately revise your inner conversation. If you catch yourself saying inwardly, "This isn't working," immediately revise it to, "Everything is working perfectly. My world is transforming now." This revision must be immediate and complete. You cannot allow doubt to linger in your inner conversation. For remember, your inner conversation is the only reality. Therefore, a doubting inner conversation will create a doubting outer reality. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be dominated by gratitude. Not gratitude for what you hope will come, but gratitude for what is already yours in your desired state. This gratitude must be part of your inner conversation throughout the day. When you wake in the morning, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you go about your daily activities, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. When you prepare for sleep, your inner conversation must be filled with gratitude. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your inner states, and your inner states create your outer world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of your wish fulfilled. If you desire wealth, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of wealth consciousness. If you desire health, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of health consciousness. If you desire love, your inner conversation must create and maintain the inner state of being loved. Many of you may be wondering what to do if you slip in your inner conversation during these 3 days. Let me be very clear, you must not condemn yourself. Instead, immediately revise the conversation. Remember, you are training yourself to maintain a new inner conversation, and like any training, it requires practice. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary focus. Every other activity must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation, for you are literally recreating your world through this conversation. Let me share with you how to structure your inner conversation for specific desires. If you desire a new home, your inner conversation might be, "I love living in my beautiful new home. Everything about it is perfect for me." If you desire a promotion, your inner conversation might be, "I am so grateful for my new position. It's everything I desired and more." But remember, these are not mere words. They must be accompanied by the feeling of living in that new home, the feeling of working in that new position. For feeling is the secret. And your inner conversation must generate the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be specific. Vague inner conversation creates vague results. Therefore, speak to yourself with clarity about your desired state. Be specific in your inner conversation about what you are grateful for, what you are experiencing, what you are enjoying in your desired state. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your self-concept, and your self-concept creates your world. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about who you are, not just what you have. If you desire success, your inner conversation must be about being a successful person, not just about having success. If you desire abundance, your inner conversation must be about being an abundant person, not just about having money. If you desire love, your inner conversation must be about being a loved person, not just about having a relationship. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be continuous, not in the sense of constant chatter, but in the sense of consistent alignment with your desired state. Every time you become aware of your inner conversation, it must be from your desired state. Let me share with you how to maintain this continuity. Set reminders for yourself throughout the day. Every time you look at your watch, every time you eat a meal, every time you enter a room, let these be triggers to check your inner conversation. But remember, your inner conversation must not be mechanical. It must be alive with feeling, rich with the emotion of your desired state, for it is the feeling that gives power to your inner conversation. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be sovereign. You must not allow anyone or anything to dictate your inner conversation. Not circumstances, not other people's opinions, not past experiences. Nothing must have power over your inner conversation except you. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your expectations, and your expectations create your experience. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must create the highest expectations of good for yourself. Many of you may be thinking, but Neville, what if my desired state seems impossible? Let me remind you, nothing is impossible to your inner conversation. Your inner conversation is God in action, and to God all things are possible. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about possibility, not probability. You must speak to yourself from the state of your wish fulfilled, regardless of how probable or improbable may seem to your rational mind. Let me share with you how to handle apparent failures during these 3 days. If something happens that seems to contradict your desired state, your inner conversation must remain unchanged. You must speak to yourself as though the seeming failure is actually part of the perfect unfolding of your desire. Remember, your inner conversation is creating your reality, not the other way around. Therefore, no external circumstance has the power to change your inner conversation unless you give it that power. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant companion. It must be the lens through which you view every experience, the filter through which you interpret every event, the standard by which you measure every circumstance. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your belief system, and your belief system creates your reality. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must consistently reinforce the beliefs that support your desired state. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be a perfect reflection of the person you wish to be. You must speak to yourself as that person would speak, think as that person would think, feel as that person would feel. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of consciousness. When you catch yourself speaking from your old state, immediately ask yourself, how would I be speaking to myself if I were already the person I wish to be? Then revise your inner conversation accordingly. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be about what is, not what was or what might be. You must speak to yourself in the present tense from the state of your wish fulfilled. This is crucial for the manifestation of your desire. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your future, but it does so by creating your present. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must make your desired future your present reality. Many of you may be wondering what will happen after these 3 days. Let me tell you, if you have maintained the proper inner conversation for 3 days, you will have set in motion forces that must result in the manifestation of your desire. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your primary tool for creation. Every other method, every other technique, every other approach must be secondary to maintaining your new inner conversation. Let me share with you how to know if your inner conversation is correct. If it feels natural, if it feels real, if it feels true, even in the face of contrary evidence, then your inner conversation is correct. Throughout these 3 days, Your inner conversation must be protected like a precious jewel. You must guard it against doubt, against fear, against negativity. For your inner conversation is the very substance from which your world is created. Let me share with you another principle. Your inner conversation creates your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with yourself creates all other relationships. Therefore, during these 3 days, your inner conversation must reflect the highest, most loving relationship with yourself. During these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your sacred practice. You must treat it with the same reverence that a priest treats his prayers, that a scientist treats his experiments, that an artist treats his creations. Let me share with you how to maintain this level of devotion. See your inner conversation as your direct connection to the creative power of the universe. For that is exactly what it is. Your consciousness in action, creating your world. Throughout these 3 days, your inner conversation must be your constant reminder of who you really are, the operant power in your world, the creator of reality, the God of your universe. And that, my dear friends, is how you must talk to yourself for 3 days if you wish to transform your world. Not sometimes, not occasionally, but consistently, continuously, constantly. For your inner conversation is the word of God in action, and it cannot return void. Remember this, your world is your inner conversation pushed out. Therefore, guard your inner conversation for these 3 days, as though your life depends upon it, because it does. So what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue with your old inner conversation, creating the same results you've always created? Or will you begin today, this moment, to maintain a new inner conversation that must create a new world? The choice is yours, but the law is absolute. Your inner conversation creates your reality. Therefore, speak to yourself for 3 days as though your desires are already fulfilled, and watch your world transform. That's the message I want to leave you tonight. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. Not because it's simple, but because it's powerful. Not because it's what you expected to hear, but because it's what you needed to hear. Remember, 3 days of proper inner conversation will transform your world. Every single time. And isn't that worth thinking about?